There we go. Now let's look at lesson 184. The name of God is my inheritance. That same Shem, that quality, that divine nature of God is my inheritance. It's what I am born to receive because of who I am. Not because of the parents that I had, etc., but because each and every one of us is an extension of what God is. Therefore, everything that God is our inheritance. Yeah? So, the section that we're looking at, though, in lesson 184, is to help us see how our language has made it hard for us to actually experience the inheritance that we were born to have. So if you look at the first sentence, first paragraph, you live by symbols. You have made up names for everything you see. And we have. Now, most of the names are names that we were told they were in school and by parents. But we have now labeled everything we see. And it says, each one becomes a separate entity identified by its name. By this, you carve it out of unity. Wow. You carve it out of unity by naming it. The unity is what's real. The separate entities is what's not real. And that's what this lesson is about. The second, as you go through this paragraph, it says, you designate its special attributes and set it off from other things by emphasizing spaces surrounding it. So we say, this is who I am, and all this is empty space. This is an object, this is an object, these are objects around me, but between them is empty space. When in fact, all of this is interconnected, overlapping fields in the one. You can't really tell where the edge of my skin begins and the fabric of my clothing ends. They really are interacting, interconnected, interwoven almost. We pretend that we can, but you can't. The smaller you go, the harder it is to find. And the same is true with the energy that I am. It's almost impossible to say, oh, here's where Ruth ends and something else begins. No. Ruth's energy is overlapping all kinds of things all over the place, and so is yours. And the fact that you're watching this now and thinking about me says your energy is literally touching my energy wherever I may be and wherever you may be right now. That fascinates me. Well, let's keep going. So, if we look at this, it says in paragraph 3, what are these names by which the world becomes a series of discrete events, of things ununified, of bodies kept apart, and holding bits of mind as separate awarenesses? Isn't that marvelous? The symbols, the names, the words that we use are what make the world seem separated. It says you gave these names to them, establishing perception as you wished perception to be. Remember what I said, we all have a mental framework, and we can only perceive what the mental framework allows our senses to take in and convert into information. If we don't have the framework, I can't see it. I can only see what's between in the holes here. I can't see what isn't in my mind and isn't ready to be presented. So, the next paragraph 4, this is the way reality is made, by partial vision, purposefully set against the given truth. That's a capital T, truth. We create the perceptual framework. We choose what we're going to see and not see. And you can certainly hear that when you see politically involved conversations happening, yeah? When someone takes a position and someone else takes a position, they don't even see or hear anything other than what they're holding, yeah? That's what we're talking about. But we're talking about that with things as simple as color of hair, color of clothing, whether clothing exists or not, whether a bear and a person, a human, are two different entities, or are they different aspects of the same entity? Interesting. So that's what this lesson is inviting us to look at. Okay, then in paragraph 5 it says, yet this other vision still remains a natural direction for the mind. The mind is not going to, as it says in the next paragraph, teach 1,000, 100,000, millions of symbols and names for all these different things. The mind catalogs things and lumps them together and associates things. And this is what systems thinking is about, to make that shift from trying to hold everything in the universe as separate and disconnected to begin to realize it's all interconnected and reflecting each other. And the whole systems movement, which started right after World War II with Norbert Wiener's book Cybernetics, and then through the 50s, Ludwig von Bertalanffy's General System Theory, and then the Macy's conferences, and all those good things that happened, were the beginning in this culture, in Western culture, of saying we've got to stop trying to say everything is discrete and separate, because it isn't. We can never do just one thing. Everything we do affects many, many other things. We can't talk about any one aspect of reality without talking about the context, the environment, the community in which that takes place. And then by the time the quantum mechanical view began to become part of traditional culture, Western culture, then we began to have even more justification for realizing all of this is just one field of overlapping energies. There is no separation. There is no discontinuity. There is no place where there is empty space. There is only the one. And that's what Lesson 184 is helping us see. So, it talks in the next few paragraphs about what the world is about in this, separate entities and all the things that go with it. And then, in paragraph 8, it says, "Think not that you made the world. You made illusions, yes, but what is true in earth and heaven is beyond your naming." So what is really true, what is reality with a capital R, can't be named. And that goes back to what we were doing in the previous lesson. We were in the Shem, and we were transcending language. We were transcending, we were deeper and richer and further and more, fully existing, fully being than language can ever allow. So, however, in paragraph 9 it says, it would indeed be strange if you were asked to go beyond all symbols of this world, forgetting them forever, and yet we're asked to take a teaching function. So of course we're going to remember that we use symbols as an easy way to communicate, as an easy way to function. If I didn't have perception, then I might walk through a tree, right? If all I were was a formless energy, and we see that in movies about ghosts, don't we? That, they're moving through walls and people and all of that, and people hardly feel it at all, right? In the movies. If you become sensitive, you'll know. So, what we're going to look at then is, in paragraph 10, what you need, thus what you need, are intervals in each day in which the learning of the world becomes a transitory phase, right? Here, and it goes down, here you understand the word, the name which God has given you, the one identity which all things share, the one acknowledgement of what is true. So you want to take time out every day and be in that space. It's kind of like meditating. And in fact, for most people, that's what meditating is. Entering into that space, that way of being, that understanding, that Shem, in which there's no need for names. There's just beingness. Yeah? So, in the next paragraph, use all the little names and symbols which delineate the world of darkness, but accept them not. Do not accept them as your reality. When I use language, I realize I am bringing forth an experience. I better be careful what language I use, right? If I want to have a particular kind of experience, my language needs to be in alignment with that. So, when I'm using language, I'm in a particular mode of being for the purpose of communication. I'm reminded, if you watch someone like Esther Hicks channeling Abraham, you become aware that she is having to use, Abraham is having to use, that source energy that she calls Abraham, is having to take very abstract concepts that have no language bring them through her mind and her words and her language, and then she has to adjust that to fit the listeners, right? And so it's coming through her to fit the listeners through her ability to speak it. And these huge, boundless, infinite concepts come through first this way, and then another way, in the hopes that maybe the listeners can catch or capture the essence of what is being said. All right? If you go to paragraph 12, God has no name, and yet his name, capital N, becomes the final lesson that all things are one. Name as Shem. Capital N name is that quality, that nature, that essence, that when we are in touch with, we become one with. Yes? And again it says no one can fail in paragraph 13. No one can fail. Experience must come to supplement the word. But first you must accept the name for all reality and realize that the many names you've given its aspects have distorted what you see. You know, in India, there are hundreds of different divinities, right? Most people will say, though, these are all aspects of the one divinity. In Christianity, there are the three aspects, the triune God, but there is only one God. Unitarianism says there isn't a trinity. There is just one being, one essence, one form, one power. Unity says one power, one presence, the omnipotent good. God, the omnipotent good. Whatever you find that works for you, for the name, in Lesson 183, in 184, you get to experience the outcomes of a life based on that. Okay? And the next paragraph, paragraph 14, it says, and though we use a different name for each awareness of an aspect of God's Son, that's us, we understand that they have but one name, which God has given them. We have but one name, all those aspects. It is this name we use in practicing, and through its use, all foolish separations disappear, which kept us blind. Now, Emma Hopkins accepted that that the human tongue can't really actually say the name of God. It is not possible to express the fullness of what God is, right? The Shem, the essence, the qualities, the full divine qualities. So, but it's an experience. But she said many of us can say a name that is the closest expression of God for us. For her, it was Emmanuel, God with us, or Jesus Christ. Okay? In the Hebrew tradition, it might be Adonai. Adonai. It might be the name Yeshua or Yezu for the Messianic Jews, the ones who accept Jesus as a Messiah. It may be, as I said, Gandhi used Rama. It could be any of those names. It could be Brahman or Atman, or it could be Om. All the sounds of the universe in one, right? I was reading some work by Emma and some other people a few weeks ago when I was in my mode of study that's caused us to stop meeting. And she points out in her lesson 10 that 1 and 0 together, one and nothing more, are in Hebrew the number 10. In English they're the number 10. In Hebrew it's Yod. Yod. And if you look at the letters YHVH, as we say them in English, in Hebrew that would be Yoveh. Yoveh. And so Yod is like the beginning of that sound, isn't it? And it's also the beginning of the name Jesus in Hebrew, Yeshua, Yoshua, Yoshua, Yoshua. So we have, in fact, some might say, the only difference between Yahweh and Yahshua is there's a shin in there, an SH sound in the middle. Very interesting. I got very excited about all that. But Yod, or Greg Braden says Yahweh is properly pronounced Yahweh, Yahweh. So that's a whole different way of being, right? Where the name is a sound, it's a set of vibrations. Whatever works for you, for 183 and 184, spend some time repeating it slowly, feeling that essence, feeling that quality, and then we begin to realize there's no separation. All beings are one. All beings are the one power and the one presence. And there is a prayer at the end of this, and feel free to use it if it works for you, of course, always. Or you might want to translate it to make it work more effectively. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.